everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for our talk, Hacking into a System of Sameness with ADMagic. I'm Charity Pourhabib, and I'm brand executive at Wieden+Kennedy, Portland, currently working on the Nike account. And I'm also the founder of ADMagic. And joining me today is Joann Njeri, an integrated production resident in the Wieden, New York office, and a member of ADMagic's first graduating class. Hi, Joann.
Hi, Charity, and hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me today.
Of course, I'm so excited to have this conversation. We're going to talk a lot about what ADMagic is and a quick overview. ADMagic is a program that includes mentorship, department panel sessions. It includes a brief process and really a way for students to get into the weeds of advertising and walk away with a very clear understanding about what that is. So we're going to share more about that, talk about our experiences. For me, I want to talk about why I started ADMagic and why I really felt it was important that the industry had a program like this. And also what the experience was like to coordinate this at this magnitude and some of those takeaways. And Joann's going to tell us a little bit about what it was like to go through the program as a student, yeah?
Absolutely, Charity. Why don't we start with why you wanted to start ADMagic?
Great question. I think that looking back, I want to start ADMagic. It's something that I've been thinking about and working towards years before I got to Wieden. But one of the big reasons why I wanted to start ADMagic was my journey into advertising and some of the difficulties and the hurdles that I felt as far as just getting into the industry overall, understanding what the departments do, understanding what roles people played. And so in a sense, it was a gift to my younger self and my home by the sea to give back and to kind of remove some of those hurdles that I felt really blocked me getting into the industry initially. So yeah, so that's a little bit about why I started the program. And I'd also love to hear from you about how you found out about the program, and was there anything that sparked it that made you want to apply to something like this?
Yeah, so love that question. I actually found out about the program through my assistant dean slash professor, Marisa Porto. Shout out to her. And we'd been really close, and she'd been telling me like, hey, like you need an internship. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But like she's sending me all these opportunities and they're all so boring. So one day she sends me an opportunity and I'm like, oh man, like, here we go again. And I hop in and I'm like, okay, like the vibes already on the call, just like you, Janina, Chris, it all just seemed like a family. So I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm tuned in and just like, I just saw myself represented. So I was like, I definitely want to apply. And then what made me want to apply is how like versatile and unique the application was. It wasn't like, hey, give me an essay, because I was honestly burnt out from essays. It was like, hey, show me who you are. Is that a video? Is that a song? Is that a flyer? And I was like, bingo, this is where I want to work. I definitely have to send in my application. And that's where we went from there.
That's so interesting that you say that, because that was a very intentional part about ADMagic, about not making it like other programs in the application process. So it's not based off of like your major, your GPA. We don't ask for letters of recommendation because anyone can find anyone to say something great about them. But we really wanted to see how students can show who they are in a creative way.
So what were some of your goals when you created ADMagic, and what were some things that you wanted to make sure were executed throughout the program?
So the goal of ADMagic in its simplest form is to create access and exposure for HBCU students into the industry. Taking it a step further is for them to walk away, and one of our core objectives for this upcoming class is for them to walk away with a very clear understanding of what each department does and the creative process from start to finish. I definitely wanted to ensure that the students walked away with that understanding, as well as so many other things, from mentorships, experiences in the brief. What does a brief process look like? How does strategy come into play? How does brand come into play? So that if this is something that they're interested in, there are so many steps ahead that they already know, what these departments do. And not that it would ever be a waste, but sometimes you get into a department and you realize a year into it, this isn't really where I want to be once you gain that understanding. And so I wanted the students to have that coming out of the program for sure, which is why it was, intentional as far as like they needed to have mentors, we needed to have the panel sessions, and they actually needed to work on a client brief that they can take something away and have that. But curious, what was it like to go through the program on your side?
So going through the program for me was very different, but very unique and great. Just from the first call, the energy, as you always hear it's the people. When you hear about Wieden, it definitely was the people just from the first call. And you connected us with the mentors. So I had 3 amazing mentors that were making time to talk to me about advertising. And they were asking me questions like, hey, what do you like to do? What do you not like to do? And we're like putting in a Google document. Like they just generally cared about where I wanted to be when it came to my future career, even if that wasn't in advertising. And just even like the experience that we got with working on a brief and being able to present to companies. And I just feel like you really set us up for a lot. And it was just amazing, like honestly. And even everyone on the panels, that also was, everyone on the panels really took their time, like with their introductions, like they either showed you a short clip or a video or a flyer, or they even talked about their businesses that they had. And it just was amazing. The people at Wieden are honestly amazing.
And that's a great point that you said, because I think that was a tone also in creating the program, knowing that advertising isn't going to be for everyone, Wieden isn't going to be for everyone. So the understanding of how can we play a role in getting you guys where you want to be, and how can we support that or plug you in different spaces that you want to learn more about. It doesn't have to be advertising, and it definitely doesn't have to be Wieden, because there's so many resources, companies, brands that might be a better fit. And so it's more about like finding the spaces that you guys shine in.
100%. And I feel like you definitely helped me find where I shine. So thank you very much. We've both been through a year of ADMagic. What would you say is your biggest takeaway?
One of my biggest takeaways that I, walked away with our first year is that the talent is there. Of course, there's these hurdles that have been there and we're hoping to get rid of, as far as just access and connections and exposure. But the talent is out there. They're ready. They're excited to tap in. There's a whole new generation that, even emerging from the pandemic, and how they adapt and how they connect with everyone, is going to be a big thing. So I'm excited to see the next class and what they bring to the table.
I'm excited as well. These are the hoodies you gave this class, but we'll see the other hoodies you give the next class. Why do you think programs like this are important to the industry, ours and other industries as well?
I mean, to call a spade, people of color and Black people have over time have had less access to many industries. And ADMagic and a lot of other programs similar to them in the industry, they acknowledge this and they're doing the work to meet this issue directly and open it up. Number one, diversifying the makers in advertising. And number two, having the rooms that create this work that we see out in the world reflect the audiences. I think that it's a major thing with, you look around the room and it's an all male room or it's an all white room, yet the audience is completely different. Like that's a big shout out. That's a big red flag, I'd say. So I think that programs like this bring in more talent and show the possibility as well.
I definitely agree with that. And again, I'm so happy you made the program and I'm happy I was able to be a part of it.
Oh, I'm happy as well. So you graduated from ADMagic and you applied for the Wieden residency program. Can you talk a bit about how those things, how it was to experience them back to back, what you learned throughout it, why you wanted to maybe go into advertising outside of ADMagic?
Yeah, of course. So experiencing it back to back, it actually wasn't my plan. Like when you guys first told us about the residency, I was like, okay, cool. And then like later on throughout the program, I was like, wait, okay, what's the residency program again? And honestly, even though I was an ADMagic student, I have to tell myself like nothing is given to you and, no one knows you anything and nothing's guaranteed. So I just kept talking to my mentors like, hey, I know I'm an ADMagic student, but I want this bad. Like, how do I go about this? Like, what do I do? Who do I talk to? Like, just ways to set myself up. And honestly, I had great mentors that were like, hey, do this and this and this. I just reached out to a lot of people. And that's how I was able to become a production resident, just by networking. So just honestly emphasize the importance of networking and also the importance of using the resources given to you. You got me in the door at Wieden, but it was up to me to kind of do the rest. And I was sending emails back to back. I mean, I'm like, hey, that Zoom call we have, like, they don't even know me, but we're about to hop on Zoom because I have a Zoom link made, So it was honestly just learning a lot. And But I learned a lot about the residency throughout the ADMagic program, because ADMagic definitely prepared me for advertising. It taught me about, all the different programs and departments that they are. There's IT, there's strategy, media comms. I mean, there's just so many different departments. And so with all the different programs, just meeting different people, one, you learn that there's a million things you can do in advertising, but you also learn that you don't have to stick with one department. And I think that I like how that's really emphasized and spoken a lot about in advertising, because I feel like when you do get some of these jobs, it's just, it's common for us to want to be there for 5, 10+ years and, be a great worker and move up. Whereas advertising is like, hey, you could do strategy one day and then a week later you could, not a week later, but like later on you could do production. So it's very great because you can always pivot into new careers.
Yeah. Do you feel that any part of ADMagic was the spark or that helped you transition into the residency? Maybe was it the mentorship more so, or the panels, or the brief?
I would say it was a little bit about everything. ADMagic definitely helped create that spark in advertising, but also ADMagic honestly introduced me to advertising. Like I would always watch commercials and be like, ooh, like I felt that. Like, I remember after watching the Colin Kaepernick commercial with Nike, I just felt like I wanted to do more. And I was like, wow, like, I really watched this commercial and I want to do more. And to kind of just answer your question earlier, I definitely do want to work in advertising because I feel like it's very influential. Like as much as we try to downplay it, media is everything. And as someone that was born in a different country, I see how the media has affected me personally, because there was a time where I was like, ew, I don't really want to be, from like Africa, even though that's where I was born, because the media is only showing for 50 cents a day, for 10 cents, but now that it took a shift and everyone's like, oh, Wakanda forever. And like, that's when I got my pride. And I was like, wait, did I really just, did I really just do like a whole like self-evaluation in 360 because of the media? So it's understanding that the media is very influential. And I definitely want to be a part of it. And as you told us, there's only about 6% Black people that work in advertising. But if you look at who makes like advertising what it is the Black community. So I definitely want to work in advertising and just bring more Black women and people of color in it.
I love that. I love that.
So what would you say is next for ADMagic, and how do you want to evolve future sessions?
Honestly, there's no limit. I think that I'd love future sessions to include many things, from discussing mental health to understanding the journey of some of our favorite creators in the world. Travel is a major component that I'm working on. I think that travel really shapes who you are. It changes your perspective. It allows you to experience different cultures, and especially advertising in different cultures evolves your outlook on life. So future sessions, I'm planning to definitely bring in guest speakers and including travel into it and a lot of different aspects.
Ooh, I like to travel, flying us out. Okay, charity. But so
Yes.
can we expect any of this in 2022?
Fingers crossed, yes. We're definitely going to have guest speaker sessions. We're definitely including some aspects to the brief that we're involving, and fingers crossed, especially for the world and safety, travel for sure. So I'm super excited about this next class. You guys did the inaugural class was phenomenal. You guys laid such a beautiful foundation in Wieden for everybody who experienced ADMagic. I'm so proud of everyone. And so I'm just so excited for the next and everything that flows after.
I'm excited too. I'm going to be a little jealous if everyone's getting flown out to the office, because I've been to the office and it's beautiful, but I definitely am just proud that you're doing this. And I just really hope that everyone optimizes the opportunity as I did, and just, really connects with their mentors. And tip to anyone watching, if you have mentors now, stay in touch with them, just make it genuine, actually build a genuine relationship with them. And that definitely will go a long way.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you have any advice for the next class, but it sounds like really tapping in with your mentors is something that really stuck with you.
Yeah, I would say tapping in with my mentors, and honestly just realizing that like nothing is given to you. Just because I was at ADMagic and I was like, oh yeah, I got the residency, I was like, I need to work so hard. Like I need to show them that, so just understanding that nothing is given to you, but also using the resources given to you. Like you gave me Wieden+Kennedy, you gave me panels, you gave me the deck of who I'm talking to, you gave me the emails. Like there was, I mean, you held my hand basically, so it's like, I'm holding your hand, like, what you gonna do? And I'm like, all right, I'm taking you this way. I'm taking, so that's honestly just using all those resources given to you, and also just being very intentional and just genuine. Like after every call, I would send a follow-up email and say thank you. And also every now and then I'd be like, hey, last week, we talked about your dog. How's your dog doing? Like, I actually showing them I was attentive. Like I wasn't just wanting to talk to you about Wieden, but also get to know you as an individual. So now it's like we're forming a relationship. And now even if I don't stay at Wieden, even if I don't get into the residency program, who knows if you know someone at Droga or 72 and Sunny. So it's just being very intentional, polite, and just knowing that, communication and comprehension and all that just goes a long way.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely being human. It's what a lot of the aspects that we miss working from home, like the elevator talk and just seeing people getting food. So yeah, I think those are all great points, for sure.
And keep your camera on. I know that
Camera on.
and we definitely want to do camera off, but if like right now, if I was talking to a black screen, my energy wouldn't even be half as up because I'm like, oh, I'm talking to a black screen. So again, just being intentional and just making certain sacrifices, but in the end, they definitely all pay off.
That's exciting. Well, yeah, overall at Magic, we're going to continue to have mentorship, continue to have the panel sessions where we're working on who will the client be for the brief this year, but a lot of new aspects as far as guest speakers, traveling, potentially a scholarship as well. Applications are now open. They'll be open through the end of November, and you can apply at admagic.wk.com.
Before we sign off, I'm so sorry, Charity. I have one last question. What advice would you give to someone wanting to start a program like ADMagic?
I would say definitely know your why and be intentional what you do and ask for help where you need it. I think that was one of my biggest takeaways. I was definitely so excited about everything and I'm like, I'll do this, I'll do that. But creating a team and a support really eased and made the process so much easier than it would have been if I had done everything myself. So I would say really figuring out your why, tapping into the resources, and just starting, honestly. I think that sometimes we can get a little bit in our head as far as like, we have to have everything lined up and we have to have everything straight before we get started, but you learn along the way. And so I think just getting started, it'll happen. Well, thank you everybody for joining. I had so much fun talking with you, Joann. Again, it's always a good time. I hope that everybody learned something about ADMagic, the program, and that's all that we have today. So we're signing off. Thanks everyone.
See you, Charity.